Hello everyone, and welcome to the Halloween countdown. And welcome to the Evil Dead. So, I feel like I gotta get some stuff off my chest before I can talk about this movie properly. And that is the hatred that is usually directed at remakes and reboots. The initial knee-jerk reaction that people have to remakes and reboots is, why? The original was fine. You don't need to make a reboot. And yeah, in a lot of cases, you are completely right. The original was really good. There seems to be this idea that the remake, the new version of the story, is trying to steal the spotlight from the original. That, well, now that there's this new version out, no one's going to pay attention to the old one. But when has that ever happened? Honestly. Like, is anyone going to forget about the original Transformers series just because there's been about 10 billion new Transformers series for the last 30 years? No. Are people going to forget the old Ghostbusters movies because there's a new version out? No. It's the same thing as how people that read a book and that book becomes based on a movie, they're not going to forget about the book they read. If anything, having that remake, having that new version of the story that's being advertised to a new generation of audiences will get attention for the previous version of the story. What happened when Harry Potter became a movie? People started reading the books. What happened when Twilight became a movie? More people started reading those books too. So, granted, there is some positive and negative stuff here, but either way, people aren't going to forget about the original story these things are based on just because of a new version that's out. In fact, it's usually the love of the original source material that gets people to want to create new stories in the first place and want to create remakes and reboots. Sometimes it's because they have a really good story idea in mind. Other times it's a simple cash grab. But either way, the whole thing starts at an appreciation for the original source material. Now the reason I bring this up is because this Evil Dead is the version of Evil Dead that Sam Raimi wanted to put out when he put out the original. It was never meant to be this super campy series. It was supposed to be something very dark and very scary. But because of the limitations of technology at the time, and also censorship laws, I believe, they couldn't do that. What they ended up making came off as funny or goofy, which led to the next two, Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. And even though this movie is out, you can enjoy the originals perfectly fine. Now, you may be thinking, Tegan, this came out in 2013. Aren't you a little bit late to the party? Well, the thing is, people are still freaking out about remakes. The new Ghostbusters is actually a really, really good film, but a lot of people were against it from the moment it was announced because it was a remake. Whether they were actually worried about this new story and whether it would be good, or they were being sexist assholes. And Evil Dead is such a good example of a series of movies, and now also a TV show, where you can just sit down and enjoy everything, but enjoy it for different reasons. This, for instance, This is a friggin' intense gore fest. I hate gory movies. I prefer the psychological thrillers and the psychological horror movies. This movie was friggin' hard to watch a lot of times. But, again, there is a scene with an X-Acto knife. Every time there's a scene with an X-Acto knife, I cringe like there is no tomorrow. And, of course, more dog murder. Because one of these days I'm gonna watch a horror movie where a dog actually survives being in a horror movie. It's not campy, it's not fun, it's dark and freaky and disgusting, and I love it so much. In fact, when I first heard about Evil Dead as a kid, and heard about scenes in it, the movie that I pictured in my mind was probably more on the level of this movie than the movie that I actually ended up seeing. Because in my mind, I was thinking, woman gets raped by a tree. Yeah, that is gonna be really, really hard to watch. And just really just thinking about it, duh. But it's so much worse than this one. So much worse. Now, that doesn't mean the movie didn't have faults. There are things from the original that I actually preferred. For instance, the things that are read from the book that starts the whole possession and haunting in the first place is on a tape recorder. They press play, not realizing what's on there. In this one, it seems like the book is almost possessing one of the people, and he reads the incantations in the book. And then there's always a side plot that has to do with drugs. Oh man, it's... Every time a horror movie gets remade... This happened with a lot of horror movies that get remade now, is that there's always some kind of subplot to do with someone having drugs. In Friday the 13th, it was the reason they went to this spooky old campsite was because there was a there was a weed plantation they put there. The friggin' Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, I think it was. They had gone across the border to get more weed. It's always weed. This one's a little bit more believable because we're dealing with a cocaine addict who is trying to get off of cocaine, and her friends are there to help her get through all the withdrawals. Once it's revealed that this is, not the first time that they've done this, you can understand a little bit more why they are so serious about not letting her leave until they're absolutely sure she's okay. Granted, when I saw... If I went into a spooky cabin and I saw a bunch of dead animals hanging from the ceiling, I would get the fuck out of there. Forget whatever thing they had planned this weekend, even if it was an anti-cocaine thing to help their friend get through withdrawal. You get out of there and you find a different place. Next weekend, different place. Not here. But a lot of it, I just let it slide because it happened very quickly. A lot of it was very believable, and also the reasons they were forced to stay were the same, which was the bridge had washed out, so there was no way they could get back to civilization. I also really like the part of the beginning that actually explored, gave us a little bit of detail on the guy that we only got little hints of from the start of the original Evil Dead. We just heard his tape, but here we actually get to see his face for a moment. So, in terms of scary, this would probably, I would say in terms of scary, this would be on the same level as, say, Babadook, in terms of being disturbing and gory and really, really hard to watch. Yeah, that's like going up to 11 and past. Probably the goriest, and yeah, probably the scariest thing that I've watched this month for this set of reviews. Don't get me wrong, Babadook was intense as well, but it was, again, it was a different kind. I don't handle gore very well. Like, there were so many scenes in this that were just so hard to watch. Now again, there are a couple other leaps in logic here, but it still made for something very entertaining. There were a lot of times where I was like, wait, what are they doing? What? How? Like, when this guy makes a defibrillator. He straight up makes a defibrillator. From stuff he finds in the shed. And I didn't realize what that was originally. He was making it before he actually needed it, knowing that he was going to need it, and I had no idea what he was making. I'm like, what the... Why are you duct taping a bunch of syringes and getting a battery box? What the heck? And this was a lot of fun. Like, this was a lot of fun to watch. Again, I'm not good with gore, but in the parts that I could actually turn my face towards the screen, it was a lot of fun. Especially the ending. The ending was super satisfying. I'm surprised that, considering how long this movie's been out, that I didn't get spoiled on the ending, because I know too many people who would spoil this ending for me. So that was Evil Dead, the 2013 version. Take it or leave it, it's here to stay. Ugh. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember to like, fave, subscribe, all that jazz. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.